Hello everyone and welcome to the Shadowbringers recap stream. Now I know you might be seeing Stormblood right now, but you'll understand here in a second. But did I say this is with me, Firemac? Well, it is with me, Firemac. So we're finally done with Stormblood completely. So as what I've been doing with all the expansions, we like to go to the movies and you get to watch the demo and title, because that's how we get hyped for this. And I don't think I have to talk too much over this one, because there's actually voiceovers in this one, which I appreciate. Though that might still cause me to get copyright struck, but I might have to just live with it.
How many years have come and gone since that day?
See, I'm my samurai. That's why I was my samurai. To the unknown, they'd think, oh, that's Xenos, but no, it's Olympus.
How many years have I waited for this moment? For the one that stood alone against the storm.
Yoink.
For the one they called. The warrior of light.
Look, it's us. As a bard. Which apparently was the original 1.0 job. Which I did not know for a long time. And that was the showcase job. Weary wanderer. No fight left to fight. No life left to live. Oh, it comes, the end, your end. Now we're back to the warrior. Fool, who are you? No one. Nothing.
What sayest thou, Master Matoya? We may accept this fate, or defy it, but we cannot deny it.
Deny? I'm wont to run from my troubles.
Yeah. Toya, huh? Interesting. Boom, boom, boom. Now my dragoon Heaven's War job. Bam. Bam. Is it enough? No, it's not enough. So who shall we? Oh, Monk. Oh, that's for the Stormblood that differed with a little bit, which I really didn't use at all.
Until our friend returns, I will hold the line.
Now what is this? Some big boys, some chunker boys. The big chunguses. Who's that? Who's this?
This town certainly has changed, and not at all for the better.
Oh.
I'm not going anywhere. I promise you, Infilia.
Infilia? What? showcasing the dancer job, brand new to this expansion. Also, new race, the Viera, the Bunny Girls, and the Bunny Girls.
This tragedy, greater even than the seventh umbral calamity, must be undone. If history must be unwritten, let it be unwritten.
But what's this?
Become what you must.
Like this. We are in Dark Knight now.
Become the warrior of darkness.
There it is, Shadowbringers. And how appropriate, finally. So yeah, I don't really have a super glammed up Dark Knight, unfortunately, but I will use the Dark Knight that I have. Yeah, I believe it's the relic gear. It just doesn't have any glamour on it. But I'm kind of okay with it. I mean, if you guys don't like it, I'm sorry. Not going all uber Dark Knight heavy armor right now. But the point is that I am a Dark Knight. And actually, it kind of makes me think a little more of Guts. Because Guts didn't have much armor on. So I'm okay with that. Okay, so New Game Plus. Bam Bam Bam, Shadowbringers Part 1. You guys can't see the text box, but that's okay. Al Amigo is at last free from Imperial rule, but the liberty may prove fleeting as the Empire moves to both reclaim this bloody nation and subjugate all of Eorzea. In their hour of need, however, they cannot turn to the Warrior of Light, nor the Scions, who yet slumber, their souls adrift. The realm is left to struggle without its saviors, for they have been beckoned beyond time and space, beckoned to the First. Now, if you guys remember the First at all, that is the location that our friends, the Warriors of Darkness, were from. Remember them? Cool, because that's important. The Circus Trench. Tataru is itching to share what appears to be good news. Good news, Firemac. We've had a stroke of luck in our search for that beacon. Apparently, our colleagues have stumbled across a hidden path leading down into the hollows around the base of the Crystal Tower. A path I doubt we'd ever have found had the Ironworks and the Suns not added their numbers to the party. Thanks to them, we have eager eyes aplenty down there, checking under the rocks and peering into every nook and cranny. Still, it sounds like there's a lot of ground to cover. Then we'd better off and give them a hand. Sounds like tedious. Okay. Then we'd better go and give them a hand. Because that's how we be. My thoughts exactly! The sooner we find this beacon, the sooner you can travel to whatever it is this mysterious voice is coming from. And the sooner we can work out how to help our friends. We have a way to wake them up, and before the Empire comes calling again, meaning we have no time to lose. Little does Tatra know. There's a boat in North Silver Tier waiting to ferry people to the site, so let's be on our way. Ba-dum, bam, bam, ba-dum. Little does Tataru know, we have all the time in the world. And you guys will find out the meaning of that soon enough. soon enough. Say hello to Mordona and say goodbye to Mordona, because I don't think we'll be coming back here for a good while. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. At least I think so. I don't know. Find out soon enough. Alright, let's go. Saint Koinak. Ferryman. Heading to the survey site, sir. It's on the eastern shore of the lake, and the swiftest way to get there is by boat. Yes, the survey site. Oh, and look at it. Hoary boulders down here.
Look how many people there are! Should we get to it then? Pick up anything that seems the least bit device-like, and we'll make ourselves a pile.
Well, if it isn't the hero of the hour, maybe you'll change our look. We've found bugger all without you.
Biggs! Wedge!
Yeah.
Aye, aye. Well, we could hardly say no to a call for aid from the Scions. Jesse called it the chief of some other business, so we'll be working twice as hard to make up for his not being here.
Thrice as hard, even.
Thank you, both of you. I'm sure we'll find that beacon in no time.
I'm not seeing anything out here. Do you reckon you could squeeze in there, Wedge?
And get stuck halfway? No, thank you.
I could try if you like.
Tataru, no! We couldn't ask you to do that.
Oh, I'll be fine. This receptionist is not afraid to get her hands dirty.
A little bit of dialogue without the box.
Sorry, I meant to say, the scholars haven't finished their preliminary assessment of the site yet, so we're not supposed to venture too far in. What's that you got there? Now that looks promising.
Isn't that the Ironworks symbol? Counterfeiters?
Now I have you.
You are right.
What's happening?
I'm sorry.
Stay with me. Focus on my voice.
Seeing Tataru freak out like that, like,
Let expanse contract. Eon become instant.
Wait, this must be it. The device. Oh, this is supposed to happen.
Throw wide the gates that we may pass.
Oh, safe journey, warrior of light. Find our friends and bring them home.
Oh, do not look at me so.
You're slaves to a tyrant. There's no freedom in that.
This is one battle you cannot fight.
Away with you. Spirited accounts always comes in welcome.
We did everything right. Everything that was asked of us, and still it came to this.
There's our buddies, the Warriors of Darkness. That looks like Memphilia.
Your time has not yet come.
Oracle of Light now. Ooh, we're somewhere new.
From endless dreams I awake. Something vague, yet urgent, calls me to action once more.
It's a chocobo. This guy looks really familiar, doesn't it? Looks just like the guy from the very beginning of our journey.
Rare to meet someone out here who's not a peddler themselves. What brings you into the wilds this time of night?
Night. But it's bright as day.
Well, if it ain't the oldest joke in the book. Me grandad, God's rest his soul, used to tell that one to the barman at kicking out time. And when, pray tell, did we last have a dark night? You rotten old drunk yet, he'd reply.
Yeah.
Over 100 bleeding years ago, that's when.
It's not letting me advance the dialogue on my own, by the way.
You got that look down to a T. I'd almost think you meant it.
Ah, got to you, did they? Poor beggar. That explains it then. Well, I've roads to travel and wares to sell, but you'd best hurry along to the town nearby. Just head east through the trees and aim for the Shining Tower. You'll find the place soon enough. 'Tis the biggest settlement for malms around. Go on now, friend. They'll take good care of you in the Crystarium. Dizzying heights it rises, the gleaming spire. Its tip threatening to pierce the blinding canopy. There, it will all begin anew. Between dark and light, the pure and the corrupt. The one true struggle.
Shadowbringers title screen. All right. Oh, they're not gonna let me use my flying yet. Dude, they better not take away my flying completely. I'll be really mad. I guess it's for story purposes.
Halt! Every face in this city I know. Yours, I do not. This is the threshold of the Crystarium, stranger, and I am its gatekeeper. If you would enter, you will answer my questions. From where do you hail?
Just tell her the source, straight up the source. The source.
The source? What is this cryptic nonsense? Had you given me an honest answer, I would not have barred your way. We care little here for a person's place of origin. But instead, you chose concealment. And I will not suffer you to pass.
But I did tell you the truth. What's that?
That one had eaten. It must have gulped down the whole hand. Ring and all.
Oh, he ate him? Our peddler friend?
Everything all right, Captain?
Quite all right, my lord. Just a stray sin eater, and a weak one at that.
I see. Weak or not, we should be on the lookout for more.
But I see you've met my guest. I will escort him to the Crystarium myself, if you've no objections.
Another of your mysterious friends, is it? I should have known. Very well. I'll inform the others your guest is to be given the run of the city. Pray forgive my less than cordial welcome. May the rest of your stay with us be a pleasant one.
Come with me. I will answer whatever questions you have when we are somewhere more private. Right then, before we plunge into the wheres and wherefores, let me first thank you for answering my summons. I had intended to bring you directly to my personal quarters, but I fear my aim was slightly off. That you are still able to make the crossing unharmed is a great relief.
Gee, thanks.
And so, we come to the question of where. The realm in which you now find yourself belongs to one of the 13 reflections, or shards. The first, to be precise, even if its inhabitants are largely oblivious to the fact. As to wherefore, having been awarded the rather grandiose title of Crystal Exarch, I, in my capacity as caretaker of the Crystarium, thought to seek the aid of you and your companions.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused?
An inkling, yes. I can only beg your forgiveness. Matters here forced my hand. But all shall be explained in due course, I promise you. Let us begin with the glaring skies up above. Here in the first, the world has been all but consumed by primordial light. It began a century ago, by this realm's reckoning. A luminous flood swallowing everything in its path. More than 9/10 of this star was lost. And the fortunate few who survived are hounded by abominations born of that catastrophe even now. Sin Eaters, we call them. The creature you saw earlier was one such monstrosity. It was to save the first from this menace that I learned to bridge the rift between worlds. That I might call upon the aid of the greatest of heroes. Though it meant depriving a world of its champion, I had to try, for in saving the first, you would bring salvation to the source as well. But what manner of host harangues his guests in the middle of the road? Let us continue our talk within the Crystarium.
It's pretty long.
Such a proud and vibrant city. The sole sanctuary for the living in a world all but resigned to oblivion. Each stone was laid with hope. The town itself a symbol, a monument to defiance in the face of death. No would-be hero could fail to answer its call. For who among us does not yearn for salvation?
The Crystarium! Yay! 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 The hub town for this expansion. And here we are. Welcome, my friend, to the Crystarium. City of the First. The Crystal Exarch has a request for you. Now, a full and frank discussion in the privacy of my study would seem to be in order. But I think our conversation would be more meaningful were you first to gain a firmer grasp of the situation here. To that end, I would like you to visit a few of Crystarium's civic leaders and glean something of this world and its predicament. As you can see, this path will take you directly to the Aetherite, a convenience with which I am sure you are only too familiar. Being the rightful object of my summoning spell, you should in theory be able to reach all the way along your etheric trail and find a connection in the source, believe it or not. In the rightful objects, and you should be able to theory. Okay, I strongly suggest you complete this attunement before venturing any further. After you have done so, walk up the steps to the Aetherite to head out to the left to arrive to the crystalline mine. This is where you'll find our collective crafters and gatherers, as well as their spokeswoman Catalyst, one of the people I should like you to meet. Another is Morin. To reach him and his cabinet of curiosity, you'll want to avoid the aforementioned steps. Take the exit on the left and simply continue straight along down until you come to the large doors at the end of the path. Third and final person I should like you to meet is Bragi, our man in charge of trade and distribution. He is to be found in the markets you can access from the opposite side of the Aetherite Plaza. In seeking out each of my colleagues, you will visit the major districts of the city and hopefully gain a feel for the place. I trust my directions were simple enough. Crystal clear. Ha! Very good. I can see the layout of the Crystarium owes more to historic necessity than planning, but I'm sure you'll learn its twists and turns before long. In all honesty, the true challenge may be in finding the right way to approach its citizens. As you discovered during your encounter with the captain, the people of this world are unaware of the existence of other stars and will struggle to accept the truth of your origin. That being the case, when they ask whence you hail, as they inevitably will, I suggest you claim to share a homeland with the Crystal Exarch. There is an unspoken rule here about peering too deeply into that particular mystery. When you finish making the rounds, pray meet me in the large courtyard at the center of town. Until then. Woo! That's the most directions I've ever gotten about how to get around. Is it gonna force me to attune? I think it is. By focusing your senses, you detect the flow of vastly distant currents of ether. Your connection to these energies is faint but stable, and should allow teleportation to Aetherites in the source. Cool. Awesome. Alright, so I need to go all over the place. So, okay. The Cabinet of Curiosity. Let's get that one out the way. I want to go all the way up here. With Morin. Excuse me, sir. Are you recently come to the city perchance? I'm quite familiar with our civic roles. You see, and well, what I mean to ask is, have you brought any books with you? A rumpled scroll even? A scrap of scribbled on parchment? My apologies. Literature is something of an obsession of mine, as well as a profession. Librarian Morin at your service, and this humble collection is known as the Cabinet of Curiosity. As your powers of perception have likely informed you, my colleagues and I are responsible for curating all manner of tomes, documents, and other vehicles for the written word. As horrific as the loss of life and land wrought by the flood unquestionably was, the damage to recorded knowledge was no less catastrophic. We few do all we can to preserve the wisdom what wisdom survived. But tell me, what brings you to Captain today? Looking for any title in particular? Mayhap a spot of academic research? Oh ho! So you've an interest in modern history. Splendid. A thorough review of recent events can often yield novel perspectives. I quite agree. If you would prefer something visual to accompany the account, then I think I have an illustrated history book for children somewhere. Just a moment, and I'll fetch it for you. And here we are. Would you like to pull up a chair? Make yourself more comfortable. on with the lesson, then. This guy's a little wired up, man. 100 years ago, or near not to matter, villains known as the Warriors of Light slew the Shadowkeeper, the Steward of Darkness. In wake of this tainted deed, light began to pour into the world as if from unseen cracks. It pooled and swelled without cease, until a day an enormous blinding wave rose up and swept across our star. We called this a calamity, the flood of light. Everything it touched was leached of life and vigor, leaving naught behind but a luminous wasteland. Looks like Mephilia. Yet, just when it seemed that all would be lost, the Savior appeared before us. The Oracle of Light, she stood twixt us approaching doom. By her power did she stay the flood. Thus was Norvrent, the Norvrent alone, spared from the fate of erasure. Tragedy would, however, arrive in another form. From the blasted emptiness descended horrors of strange and terrible aspect to bedevil the few folk who survived. Descended horrors of strange and terrible aspect. Did I say that? I feel like I skipped it. These sin eaters were light incarnate, and their fulgent presence stole the night from Vordrent's sky. Even now they circle the remaining bastions of civilization, ever on the hunt for us, ever hungering for our flesh. And thus did the world become what it is. Should you ever wish to hear the tale again, I would be glad to retell it to you. Or, if you would rather I speak of other matters, that would be my pleasure. I should be glad of the company. Your exchange with Morin has taught you about the Flood of Light. Cool, hopefully I never have to talk to that guy again. Alright, so the next one. I guess we'll talk to the crafters next. To the crystalline mean. Is there... Okay, cool. I was gonna say, is there a Ethernet shard for that? The awkward, there wasn't. I'm ready to see a place so well stocked with goods, isn't it? But not here. I'm going to guess you're new to our fair city. Well, for what it's worth, you've chosen a fine sanctuary. The Exarch can throw up a barrier if the Sin Eaters are knocking it, so it's a damn sight safer in here than it is out there. Safer and more civilized too, thanks to us in the mean. We work together to procure materials and resources and craft goods which make city life possible. This is the place to visit if you need a coat mended or a kettle forged. Just don't go thinking it'll be all handed to you on a plate like those Ulmoran layabouts. Here in the Elixirium, we work for a living. Though I see you're no stranger to honest labor, you don't have to whiff of indolence about You don't have that whiff of indolence about you like some folk I've met. Still, I can't quite pin down your profession. Where is it you're from? I'm with the Exarch. One of the Exarch's crunchy men, you say? I see. Well then, I'll work twice as hard to make you feel welcome. Our city wouldn't even exist if it weren't for him, and any friend of his is a friend of ours. It's really quite incredible when you think about it. They say his grand magic summoned the Crystal Tower into existence, pulled the entire thing out of thin air. It wasn't long before droves of refugees began congregating around its base, desperate for shelter after losing their homes to the flood. Whew. And that's how the Christian began. At the Exarch's invitation, buildings started going up, and with the help of some curious relics brought forth from the tower, the place gradually expanded into the thriving metropolis you see today. The city stood here for decades now, yet the eldest among us swear the Exarch looks exactly the same as he did back then. He is indeed a man of many mysteries, but for all his secrecy, he had never let us down. He's never let us down. So if he and you wish to remain silent about your shared homeland, then the folk here will respect your wish for privacy. I am, however, more than a little curious to see what any crafting talent you might be hiding. If you ought to contribute on that front, be sure to come back and visit once you've had a chance to settle in. Just ask for Catless and I'll find you a niche here in the Crystalline Mead. You can help us keep the cogs of the city greased and turning. Your exchange with the Catless has taught you about life in the Crystarium. Woo-hoo-hoo! Ethernet chair, there it is. Musica Universalis? Yeah, Musica Universalis. Woo! New to the city, friend? The spinning head and wide eyes give you away. Welcome, my name is Ragi, and I'm the master of these markets. They gave the district another official title, but I'm not in the habit of using it. Too floored by half. In any case, our merchants stock a range of equipment for humans such as yourself, so finding something in your size shouldn't be a problem. So, also, did you notice something? He didn't call me a here, he called me a hume. I'm actually a here. Must be a dialect I'm not familiar with. Let's see if we can straighten this out. See those two in front of us? The shorter one is a human like you. And the taller one is an elf. Not Elzen, just straight up elf. The sturdy individual over there is a Galgant. Now Rogadin, Galgant. What's the one with the horns is a Dron. So instead of an aura, it's a Dron. And then you have the large scaly chaps with long tails and knack for raising livestock. Those would be the Zun, or Zun. Not the Malja, the Zun. Which is apparently not the name you know them by. Now I'm curious to know which far-flung region you hail from. I'm with the Exarch. Same as the Exarch, eh? Well, that explains it. You don't get much further flung than that. We've had a few of your lot pass through in recent years. And despite their obvious flirting, they flounder over the simplest things. But not to worry, should you find yourself confused by the local language or customs, I'll be here to answer your questions. Your exchange with Bragi has taught you about the peoples of the First. Alright, so if you didn't catch on everything, every race has a different name here. Alright, so we're going to the Xedra, is that what he said? No, the Docile Gate. The Docile Gate. Must get to 8th right shard. To the Docile Gate. Well, how did you fare? Did my callings help you form a clearer picture of this world and its people? Yes, it seems you were treated to a most thorough introduction. I understand it was something of a chore, but 'twas necessary that you grasp these things before we proceed. As for the Egg Crystal Tower's origin, you may have noted that details were sparse. The structure is in fact the selfsame one you know from the source, transported to the First in its entirety. It was my first attempt at breaching the boundaries between worlds, something of a trial run for your eventual crossing. And although I do not know which era it tore from, I do know that its arrival served to set the wheels of fate in motion.